We wanted to make this virtual experience as real as possible.
How much do you pay them?
They do this on demand, or without demand. Shall I go ahead and introduce myself, or are you ready for that?
We're up and running. We have you on both.
Okay, well, here we go. Welcome, everybody. I am Judy Adler, and I have taught environmental education for years in the Diablo region. I'm also a passionate gardener and have a garden that is one that supports life, which is particularly important on Earth Day. So I use nothing toxic here, and I compost readily, and I'm trying more and more to find ways to turn around climate change. But that's more for another topic. Today the topic is water, and how perfect for Earth Day and for a garden that supports life to include water, because water is truly a precious resource. And in a state like California, that's winter wet and summer dry, tends to be arid, it's really important to capture water when it's available and store it until you're ready to use it. So it makes for a wonderful result, and it's something that I think should be very widespread in California. My whole experience with rain harvesting began as a homeowner's problem, because I had a gaping hole in my gutter, and it wasn't a year of drought, it was a year of good rains in California. So I had water just teeming off my roof, and at that point I decided there must be a way of capturing it. I also have a pond, so if I could get the rainwater to my pond, it was a win-win. So how did I solve the problem? It's important for you to know what the components are for a rain harvesting system. By the way, this is probably one of the few rain harvesting installations of a homeowner in our county. I'm going to start with this. What I'm holding up now is called a gutter cover. So when you are getting water off your roof, you want to try and just get the water and not all the residue that is on the roof. So this serves as a filter so that the water is coming cleaner into the tanks where they'll be stored. We'll talk about that later. The second thing I would like to do is mention that we have a system here that is called a first flush system. What you do is take down the downspouts and you use pipes. So you convert the conveyance of water. So water that falls on the roof gets filtered in the gutter and then goes into a system where the water is filtered again, and you take off a cap and eliminate the sediment, and then the water goes fresh into the tanks. So there are two ways of filtering the water. What you're doing is capturing water off the roof. It's amazing, and something that most people don't understand, and that is how much water comes off a typical homeowner's roof. There is a calculation for this, which I am going to give to your teachers, so that you can figure out how much water comes off the roofs at your school, and you can think about how you can capture rainwater for the landscape or for other purposes at your school site. Anyway, on my roof, which is about 2,700 square feet, I can capture in Walnut Creek, with 18 inches of rainfall a year, approximately 30,000 gallons. That's not just turning the water off when you brush your teeth. That's a huge amount of water. And if you have a system that works for museums, for schools, for large structures, homeowners associations, multifamily units, you are saving a lot of water. You're bypassing the old storm drain system, which is a broken system. The goal of rain harvesting is basically to slow water down, to spread it and sink it. That means water gets filtered as it goes through the soil and restores groundwater levels. So I use my water not for drinking water, but for irrigation purposes and for my pond, which you will see soon. So it's a very important thing. Rain harvesting has become so much fun for me that I said, why should I just be the only one to do it? I said, I think I'll talk to my legislator. So I wrote a proposal to Steve Glazer from the 7th District, and he liked the idea. And Proposition 72 was passed in California in 2018 because I liked rain harvesting so much and felt that it was such a wonderful water conservation device for California. So here it is, a citizen solving a problem with a gutter that had to be replaced and turning it into a sustainable solution that I'm now trying to advertise throughout California. And hopefully you'll help me, because there are going to be jobs in rain harvesting for you. I hope that you as students will start thinking about observing carefully how water flows, and also maybe you would be interested in a career in hydrology. Maybe you'd be interested in a career in bioengineering. Oh my gosh, management of water and the wildlife that depend on it, it's critical to our future, and that's where the jobs are going to be. So I hope I've inspired you a little bit. I know that you're in a STEAM world, so I'm going to show you what a friend of mine made for me. This is a model of my rain harvesting system. Basically, what you see here is the roof capture, and these are the storage tanks, and this is my pond, and through a series of pipes, water goes from the roof and is stored in the tanks, and then I release it with a hose, simple hose, into the pond. And all of this operates on gravity, so I'm actually teaching you physics today. As a youngster, I didn't have physics, so I've learned physics by trying to manage a rain harvesting system. And you can get yourself in trouble if you're not careful. Anyway, that's a simple beginning. Let's talk about how we store the water. I've talked about water running off the roof. We're capturing rainwater. Rainwater and drinking water are not the same thing. Drinking water would cause all of the fish and amphibians in my pond to die because of the chloramines that are in drinking water. What I'm doing is capturing rainwater without those chemicals and storing it for the use for irrigation and for the pond. Because I'm doing that, instead of using drinking water for my landscape, I'm conserving drinking water for those purposes. Now let's talk about, we're going into when I first started capturing water, when it was flooding out of my gutter, I said, oh, I'll capture it in a 5-gallon bucket. That's easy. And then I'll take it to my pond. I quickly learned that that was silly. I could nowhere capture the kind of water that was coming off my roof so quickly in that winter rain. So I graduated to 20-gallon garbage cans. Finally, I got to 100-gallon containers, and now I got realistic, and so these each are 3,000 gallons. That I have 3 of them, so that makes for 9,000 gallons just in this area. Now, not everybody has a house and a property that can accommodate this, but the idea of capturing rainwater for plant use is something that is important. Clusters of tadpole in gelatin-like cases because Pacific tree frogs have been mating here. I did not place frogs in the pond, they found it. And because it's a pond that's a healthy pond for them, they've come back year after year. So by creating a pond in my backyard that runs on rainwater, I'm able to support populations of amphibians and many kinds of invertebrates. I collected in this tub, but I think it'll be hard for you to appreciate. Remember, the water that is in the pond is not the same as the water that comes in your drinking bottle. If you were to put drinking water in the tub, the animals that I showed you wouldn't survive. So please know the difference if you're ever doing pond study. These tanks empty by hose into this pond, and there's a float device that keeps the water at a constant level. So get solar pumps, you can get solar fountains. I know your teacher has talked about that, but in this case, I have a pump that's operated by electricity.
So is it difficult to keep them running? Or like keep them clean?
I periodically, after the tadpoles have become frogs, and I have an excess of algae, I use the algae after escorting any living things out of it that I can see as fertilizer in my garden. So nothing is wasted here. The idea is to have one thing flow to another and everything supports each other. And I think you can tell from the sounds and the smells. You can't get the smells, obviously, but the beauty of the place, that it all works. So in summary, I just want to say to you, the best thing you can do is watch nature and copy what it does, because that's the answer to reversing climate change and having a healthy, wonderful life. And I look forward to meeting some of you in person. You're welcome to come visit this garden, and I'm eager to hear more about what you do at your school. Thank you very much.